Welcome back to This is a Rewind. My name is David Hensley. I'm the owner and creative director of Long Walk Productions, and I am here to introduce your host, David Two Doggz Hayes.
Thank you very much, David Hensley, and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to This is a Rewind, a look back at what wrestling used to and possibly still should be. With me, as always, my tag team partner, Shelby Death Ray Patterson. What is going on, Chica?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you?
I'm kind of tired tonight.
You know, I am too, but
you've had a hell of a week.
I have,
and it's going to keep going.
You know, I joked about this when we were recording NXT Vengeance Day. Mm-hmm. I really hope that our listeners enjoy my voice because this is what you're going to hear for the next 4 episodes.
Yeah, because you had Vengeance Day. We've got this.
We had Rumble before Vengeance Day.
Yeah, that's right, because you subbed in for Barnes.
I did, yeah.
And now you got Elimination Chamber.
Sure do.
Yeah.
I love how you put all of the work on the pregnant woman.
I did it on purpose.
Literally everything's been passed off to me, so it's fine. Hey, I enjoy it. I love it. If I didn't, I wouldn't be here right now. But I am right there with you. I'm pretty tired. This week has been
it's
pretty tiring.
It's something else, man.
Yeah.
So what have we got? This is once again moving with our year of greats. Mm-hmm. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had a little bit of an issue with this one.
You don't say. And why? Please explain.
Well, I did at first.
Okay.
And the reason being is because when I think of greats, I think of legends. I think of people, of the past moving, up to current.
Sure.
I hadn't really given current much thought and really never thought of them as great, at least right now.
And I think that's why this show works.
Well,
right? Because you are from a different era of wrestling than I am, so my definition of a great and your definition of a great could be two different things.
And this is the thing about it. After doing some homework on it the past couple weeks, yeah, I tend to agree with you now.
I'm glad that you see the light on this because the person that we're talking about today, guys, is Finn Balor. And I'm sorry, was that me?
Are you kidding me?
It was me. I'm so sorry.
Are you kidding me? Folks, if you remember the last rewind when she blasted me for having my cell phone.
Hey, it was my sister, okay?
There was even a discussion before we went on the air. Watch me. I will put this on airplane mode.
You know what? I'm doing a lot for you. So I think you can let this slide. And they might not have even heard it. I don't know. Maybe they did. I'm sure they did. Anyway. So we're talking about Finn Balor today, and this was on my list of greats. Mm-hmm. And the reason why I wanted to talk about Finn was because he was the one that brought me back to wrestling.
Absolutely.
So when I was a kid, Stone Cold, who we talked about in the first episode, was the person who I was really enamored with, and really the only person I remember from that era.
Sure.
And then I dropped off when my dad did because I was 8.
Because that's what you do.
And my mom definitely wasn't going to let me watch it by myself.
Sure.
During that time. So I just decided, okay, well, we're just not going to watch it anymore. And then college came along and I met a group of people who started to watch it again because they heard, there's this cool new indie section called NXT.
Right.
And they were like, you'll probably really like this since you were a wrestling fan as a kid. Yeah. So I started watching it, and this dude pops up on the screen, and he is in full, makeup, body paint from head to toe, just in complete character mode. So from the moment he goes on screen to the moment he's off. And to me, I was studying theater at the time, And it reminded me of the whole kabuki theater and how they just get really immersed in everything that they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
And I was just immediately drawn to him.
So it wasn't the six pack that did anything. It was
No, the body paint was covering up the six pack, so I
Okay.
didn't know about that until after I was drawn in.
Okay.
So I was drawn in by the allure and like everything else, and then I'm like, oh wow, he's really ripped. That's a bonus.
Yeah. And those
the
piercing blue eyes.
And the accent doesn't hurt
the
either.
accent, I can imagine. Yeah.
But so, do you want me to just go through?
You know what? Let's just start,
Yeah.
and I will jump in here and there.
Yeah, because I feel like you took the lead kind of on Austin, which I kind of just let you do because I felt like you knew a lot more than I did, and I feel like I know more about Finn than you do.
We will see.
Ooh, okay. So he was from Bray County, Wicklow, Ireland, hence the accent. And he debuted in the NWA British Commonwealth League as Prince Devitt.
What was it? He was training there too, right?
He trained and he debuted there. So I did not realize until doing a huge deep dive into this that the NWA had like different federations in different countries.
Oh yeah,
because they had it in the Commonwealth and then they had it in Ireland.
They had
too.
to expand because after Vince took over everything,
Right.
the NWA, that and $5 will get you a Starbucks coffee. So
True. Well, because he moved to the NWA in Ireland where he met and trained with the now Becky Lynch. Mm-hmm. So they kind of trained and came up together. And then in 2006, he went to New Japan.
I found it kind of funny that it's just a mirror image thing that happened. And apparently this just happens in most indie federations. Mm-hmm. Somebody comes in that has some real skill and just some God-given talent. Bing, bang, boom. Few months later, they're the ones that are doing the training.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what happened with me.
Uh-huh.
And that's exactly what happened with Finn Balor.
It is. And then it actually led to him opening his own school in Bray later on down the road. But yeah, so he debuted and trained himself and then started training other people.
Yeah.
And then went to New Japan in 2006. And he stayed there until 2014.
Actually went into Japan and started training with all the other gaijins and
Yeah, because I think the way that it works over there is you start out and it's like young boy, isn't that what they call them?
Basically.
Something like that.
Yeah.
And you have to work your way up. So like you're basically not wrestling on TV or even in a ring
yeah, you're
for like the first year or two.
you're their slave basically.
Yeah,
you're
like-
cooking food. You're doing laundry.
Yeah, and it's supposed to be you're supposed to learn like how to do the discipline part of everything first. And then you can get into the ring.
Right.
But I remember I was watching a documentary about him one time that he didn't even step foot into a ring until he had been there a year.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
So you're just kind of slugging bags and making breakfast and doing laundry and stuff like that. But I was looking through in the list of people that he worked with from 2006 to 2014 is insane. Because he worked with Jushin Thunder Liger.
Oh man.
Christopher Daniels, Motor City Machine Guns, Hiroshi Tanahashi, Kushida, Kenny Omega, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh,
of
absolutely.
Ones that he had like actual feuds with and everything, which led to the Bullet Club, which I feel like if you're a wrestling fan now, you know what the Bullet Club is.
Yeah.
And because he was actually one of the founding members.
He was.
Of the Bullet
It
Club.
was him and oh god, what's the guy's name? You don't.
I didn't write it down.
Oh, you didn't write it down.
Yeah.
The guy's name is Folo.
Bad Fala?
They follow. That's
Yeah,
it.
Bad Fala.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was him and Bad Fala, and because he had Finn had a fallout with his tag team partner at the time, then joined Bad Fala, and then they created the Bullet Club.
Had some really awesome tag teams too,
Yeah.
man. It was with one team called that was the Counter-Terrorist Unit.
Yeah, the names were insane.
Yeah, which came. I'm assuming, if my timeline is correct, that came out about the time that 24 came out, which would make sense.
Right, yeah. But I feel like with the Bullet Club, because you even have references in WWE with Bullet Club.
Right.
Because he was only in it for 1 year. Because he created it and then dipped out and went to WWE.
Yeah.
But after he left in 2014, there were 6 different leaders after him, and then 48 total members.
Can I say something about the Bullet Club that I
course.
was unaware of, and I am happy to educate everyone? The Young Bucks weren't actually weren't the original
No.
Bullet Club. They were hired help for the Bullet Club.
Yes, that's right.
Until Anderson and Gallows and Tommy Tonga and everybody
Yeah.
got there. And then they gave the Pearl Harbor job to Devitt, and then after he jams, then they became a member of the Bullet Club.
Well, they came on like way later. Same with like, because they have a list where it's full-time members and then part-time members.
Yeah.
And then former members.
Right.
So you have people who are not even in New Japan anymore who are still technically full-time members. And then you have others that are former members.
Yeah.
So who got kicked out or like whatever. But I saw that Brandy Rhodes is a part-time member of the Bullet Club, which was really funny to me.
That's
I mean, Cody was in it too when he was over. I feel like literally every American,
yeah.
or even Canadian too. I think any North American who went over,
You kind of
became a part of it because Adam Cole, Hangman Adam Page, the Young Bucks, Kenny Omega, like literally everybody who came over from the U.S.
Yeah.
or Canada ended up being in the Bullet Club,
Right.
in some way, shape, or form. But I think it's funny now that like it's kind of cool to be associated with the Bullet Club, but then it's
It
also
is.
not at the same time, depending on which group you're talking about. So like AJ Styles, who took over after Finn left as the leader with Gallows and Anderson.
After that, that's kind of the turning point of the sellout Bullet Club.
Yes, because AJ Styles and Gallows and Anderson are very quick to remind people that they were in the Bullet Club.
Right.
You never hear Finn talking about it.
No.
You never hear Finn even mention that he's a founding member of the Bullet Club, much less that he was in it. And there was a point when all of them were in WWE and everyone was like, oh, they're going to tease a Bullet Club reunion, try to get Finn on board. And Finn's like, nah, no, that's not how you do it. Like, it's supposed to be an exclusive thing.
Oh, it is, yeah.
Like, you don't go around bragging that you're in the Bullet Club. If people know you're in the Bullet Club, if you're in it.
The OC.
And I just think that's an interesting dynamic coming from like a founding member versus like someone who came in like 2018 and is now like repping
Kenny Omega.
Yeah. Repping the Bullet Club t-shirts and the jackets and all that stuff. But I just think it's really interesting and funny that the list on Wikipedia is so insanely long.
I mean, it's longer than the members of the NWO, which I don't know if you have a count on that, but that's
a lot of members.
It's a lot of
right?
people. It's
well, because after he left New Japan, he went straight into NXT,
right,
and that's where I found him. And he debuted as Finn Balor, which I didn't realize that both of his names were Gaelic for different demons.
Yeah.
But because I only heard like, oh, well, Finn's my dad's name.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Which it is, because his real name is Fergal, which is so funny to me. Fergal Devitt is
He
his
looks like a
actual
Fergal.
name. To me, see, he doesn't to me. Every time I see and read that name, I'm like, no, he's a Finn, but I think it's because I just know him as Finn.
I figured I look at him and I go, man, his name's Fergal or I'm a dirty Scott. That's what I say every time.
Yeah, I've heard you say that every time we watch anything. Yeah. No, I've never heard you say that.
You could stitch it on a pillow. I've said it so much.
Oh my God. Anyway,
I'm sorry.
we're both in a weird spot today.
It's been a weird week.
It's fine. But Balor specifically means Demon King.
Demon King,
And
yep.
so that's what he ended up going by.
Because they didn't want him to be. They were going to name him King in New Japan, but he was like 22, and they were like,
Yeah, he was going to be King Devitt.
Yeah.
Was what he was going to be. And then he decided, no, we're just going to be Prince because we're baby still.
Yeah. Now he's back in NXT, and he's back to Prince at 35.
Right.
So
well, and because we had like a huge run in the first time for NXT because he won the title and held it for, I think I wrote down 292 days.
Yeah.
Which is long ass time.
Yeah.
And then he moves up to the main roster.
Oh, let's talk about this.
I take my jacket off for that.
Okay.
I told you I was gonna get hot.
I knew it was coming.
Yeah. So he debuts on the main roster in 2016 and is immediately put in this new title that they've created called the Universal title.
Yeah.
And it's between him and Seth Rollins.
Yep.
And it's SummerSlam 2016. And about 5 minutes into the match, he gets a shoulder injury.
Yeah.
And then works the rest of the half-hour match. Literally trying to pop the shoulder back into place. It just isn't doing anything. Because I think the move was Seth is on the outside. They're on the outside, and Seth throws him up against the barricade, and he just hits it just right.
Yeah.
And it just completely
And the thing,
blows.
if you go back and watch that match and you slow it down, just
You can see
you
it.
can see it.
You can see it. And then the entire match, like in the moment, I remember watching that match.
Oh, yeah.
And thinking, oh my God, this is amazing. Like, this is a great match. And then you go back and you watch it and you're like, oh my God, like he did that and he did
Kept
that.
going, man.
He did that move with no shoulder. Like it was. So he has to relinquish the title the next night on Raw because it's going to take 4 to 6 months to recover. So he wins a brand new.
When did he get his rematch?
You know, we don't really speak of that because
It didn't happen.
it didn't happen.
No.
According to me, it did not happen.
If I recall, I remember last year he got his rematch with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, in 2022. So long time in between when he got a rematch. But he did win a couple of Intercontinentals in between then.
He did.
And then went back down to NXT, won the NXT title again, and then came back up.
Right.
But because we had something to prove or something. But
he decisively lost in 2022.
no,
If I recall, it was I haven't seen a cleaner pin in my life.
for those of you who don't know the reference we're talking about the infamous rope snap match. Or rope snap finish, more likely, where the ropes just give out on him because he's a demon and I guess God did not want him to win.
Yeah.
So, and they never explain it. They never go into it. They
Only
just,
time the Demon King has been pinned.
Not true. So,
Say what?
so when he left NXT, the takeover before, so it was Our Evolution. Not Our Evolution. It was another takeover. I can't remember. But Samoa Joe beats him for the title, and he was the Demon King then.
Oh, really?
The first time that the Demon King had ever been pinned.
Okay.
Because that was his thing. He only brought the Demon King out during takeovers.
Oh,
that was
wow.
specifically, you did not see him on a random NXT Live. You did not see him out and about. It was just at a takeover.
Yeah.
And that's what made it so special.
Yeah.
And so I think profound that and it just sucks that they lost that when he moved up.
Yeah.
Because then Vince was just like, oh, let's just
want
put
you
it
to
on
do
a
it.
random Raw.
Yeah.
And he's like, no, that's not what it's about. Like, this is a persona that I have to be able, I have to tap into this to be able to beat this guy.
Yeah.
It's not just a party trick that I pull out whenever you want me to.
Right.
Like, it means something, and it meant something in NXT. So when Samoa Joe beats him as the Demon King, it kind of passes the torch to Joe, who then goes on to reign for like ages.
Yeah.
So that was not the first time.
Okay.
That was just a really shitty time. That didn't really mean anything. And then he was like, yep, the Demon King is dead.
We haven't seen the Demon King since then.
He has gone on record being like, I'm not bringing it back until it means something again. So, which I don't know if he will bring it back then. Unless now that Hunter's in charge.
This will be fun. Let's armchair book this thing. What would it take to bring back the Demon King?
I would think Hunter would have to have something really good for him and creative for him to be able to do that. He has to be away from Judgment Day.
Yeah, I think Judgment Day needs to turn on him. I think maybe, Damian Priest doesn't have the stock right now to do this.
Not yet. I think this is like a couple years in the future right now. Because I think now he's with Judgment Day, which I was kind of iffy about at first because, like, Evil Finn doesn't really, like, do it for me. But, like, because he's just not, he wasn't that great at it at first. It's kind of like when Bailey turned heel, you were like, no one's believing this.
Yeah, she struggled.
I know you want to come up and hug me. You know, you're fighting it, right? It was kind of one of those things. But then as time went on and then writing got better, I'm on board now. I do, and now with Rhea a part of it, like I think it really makes it. So I think he would have to lose Judgment Day.
We've got to
have to get like rock bottom before we can get to that point.
It's got to be it's got to be a dynamic heel, like an MJF type, for him to straight just go after him, and it's got to be pretty brutal.
See, what I really wanted, and they hinted at this long time ago, I wanted him and The Fiend to go at it.
They've toyed with this.
So when there are different eras of Finn, and I divide them by colors, right? So you have black and Demon King Finn in NXT.
Sure.
You have blue Finn when he's on SmackDown. You have red Finn when he's on Raw, and then you had the era of white Finn, and that was the era we were in.
That's the era that he lost on the top rope.
No. The white era is when he was doing his stuff with the Fiend, because he was the light and the Fiend was the darkness.
Yeah.
So this was the white Finn.
Okay.
So he had like white trunks, white jacket, white everything.
Anybody else want fish?
I know. I was thinking, red Finn, blue Finn, white Finn. Reads just like a children's book. So they teased it a little bit. So they did have a match at a pay-per-view, which I remember very fondly because Kara and I were both just like enamored and just like staring at the screen the entire time. Because they teased it a little bit. Yeah. There were certain moments, because he wasn't Demon King Finn. He was just regular Finn. And he lost. Yeah. And I'm like, ooh, this is going to be great. Yeah. He's going to have to like tap into the Demon King, and he's going to come out, and we're going to have Fiend versus Demon King, and it's going to be great. They never followed up on it. Nope. And it was so unsatisfying. And I mean, obviously that ship has sailed.
Not only did they never follow up, it was never even mentioned again. It's like it didn't happen.
And I feel like that happened with him a lot during that first main roster run. He came in, he was super hot, super on fire, put into the Universal title match, and then once he got injured, it's just
That was
that was it.
Fizzled.
Yeah, and he had a few Intercontinental wins. He won, and then he went back to NXT.
Yeah.
Which,
God bless him for that, because I think that was the best move.
he was the first one to do that. So NXT was moving to USA.
Yeah.
And it was becoming a live show.
This was the Wednesday Night Wars.
This is the start of it, yes. And they brought Finn in, and this is when you had Adam Cole, you had the Undisputed Era, all of that. You had Keith Lee come in toward the end of that. You had Dominic Dijakovic. You had all these really big guys that are still big now.
Right.
Who were already there.
Yeah.
And then Finn comes in and then takes the title and then ends up making it like the longest reign
Yeah.
ever. I think in total with both of it was like over 500 days.
Yeah.
And he was able to revamp like everything.
Oh, he 100%
And
did.
was
yeah.
able to go back to the main roster with the character that he has now. And I think it makes more sense
Yeah.
because of what he built. Because he was in NXT for 2 years.
And this is the interesting thing of why I've kind of turned a corner on this, and I now recognize there's a modern great, and the reason that we have that with Finn is because of how he changed the dynamic of the subculture of wrestling. Even in New Japan, which was the subculture of the subculture of another subculture that is pro wrestling.
Right.
And you had people with Bullet Club shirts on. Nobody knew what the Bullet Club was.
Exactly. And then when he came over, people started wearing all that stuff and then Googling what Bullet Club meant
Yeah.
and then finding New Japan.
yeah.
And yeah, just kind of, he really helped
It
both in a lot of different ways.
It really did. It brought New Japan. It gave New Japan a different market. It opened up their market to more wrestling fans.
Exactly.
And you couldn't have done it without the Bullet Club. Couldn't have done it without Finn Balor.
Yeah, and I think that when he was put in matches with people, everyone would be like, "Oh, well, Finn's got it."
Right.
You know, Finn will carry him. Finn will make this a good match. Like, I remember there was a few Royal Rumbles where he was in the Final Four for the
Yeah.
past like couple of years.
And for those of you that don't realize, usually those last 6 people are the ones that are getting the rub.
Yeah. So he would be in that spot for years.
Oh yeah.
And then everyone would be like, thank God, this is finally the year. Like, you need to put him somewhere, give him something, and
Yeah.
then nothing.
Yeah.
Then goes back to NXT, revamps himself, makes himself the king there,
Yeah.
and completely makes people forget about the Demon King for a little bit. Mm-hmm. Because that didn't come back into conversation until he came back to the main roster.
How long ahead into the future do you think we're going to see the Demon King?
I am hoping maybe, I wouldn't say anything less than like 2 or 3 years.
Because we have to get rid of Judgment Day before. So I don't see it happening this year.
No, definitely not. And I wouldn't want to see it while he's with Judgment Day. Okay.
Really? Now wait, let's think about this for a second.
Does the wrestling wife in me want to see it? Yes, absolutely. Right. But like the logical wrestling mind part of me is like, it wouldn't make sense and it wouldn't mean as much. Like, it has to be the right circumstances for it to happen.
Let me paint you a picture.
Okay.
How about Roman Reigns, the Bloodline, Jimmy and Jey Uso, and Solo are going up against Judgment Day. Now, they've already teased this just a few short weeks ago, and it was a fantastic match.
I remember that match. Yeah.
What if this happened after WrestleMania. Mm-hmm. And the bloodline just decimates Judgment Day. And there's only one, and now we've clear if they just decimated them, left them laying in the ring. Now we've got sympathetic baby faces in Judgment Day with little Dominic there.
Little Dominic.
After being the hardened criminal that he is now.
Yeah, because he's been to prison.
Been to prison, folks.
Yeah, for like 3 days.
We've got the man's man, Damian Priest, and we have everybody's favorite Rhea Ripley, and they all just got laid out. Now, maybe it's even something as bad as the WWE doesn't like to do this anymore, but let's say Roman cold-cocked Rhea and laid her out.
No.
Oh, see? Well, there's only one man that can stand up to Roman Reigns, and that's Finn Balor.
I would love for him to have a redemption match with Roman. I would absolutely kill for it. I would, because the way that match ended was the most disappointing match I have ever seen in my entire life. And
I mean, we knew what was going to happen, but we did not
ever foresee the ending of that match being that the rope was going to break.
Well, we knew Roman was going to win.
Well, sure.
But we didn't.
Which was why I was mad about the match in the first place, because they had brought the Demon King out. I'm like, okay, well, now he's going to lose, and then he's going to lose all credibility, and then we're going to be back to square one again.
Some bullshit rope break that you totally saw happen. I mean, you just like, oh, come on.
You saw
really?
the quote unquote cameraman walk by with scissors and just go crack. Like, it was, yeah. So
it was upsetting.
I would give anything for him to have a redemption match with Roman Reigns as the Demon and just obliterate him.
So
yes.
It is plausible.
Yeah, but
that could happen.
I think that Roman Reigns still has a few more years in him. I mean, I don't want that to happen, but like, I think that he still does.
You think he's got a few more years as champion?
No. I mean, just being here.
Oh,
he doesn't have to be champion for this to happen.
Okay.
Roman's kind of at the status now where, like, after he loses the title, eventually, like, he's going to be like Brock Lesnar status, that he can come in and be like, I don't want the title. I just want a match.
See, now I think that this, I still am at the belief that Cody's gonna take the belt at WrestleMania, and I think it's gonna upset Roman so much, and it's gonna upset the bloodline so much that they're gonna go on a rampage, and they're jumping into matches that they're not involved in. And they're gonna start slapping people around and just.
I mean, that can be motivation for Demon to come out. Who knows? But
yeah,
I want it to happen, but I want it to be for the right time and the right story and the right moment. I don't want it to be just because we've run out of things for Finn to do, so we're just gonna pull it back out.
Yeah,
because he hasn't done it in years now.
Yeah,
so
it
needs to be really important for him to do it again.
It's got to be something big.
Because to me, I can't explain how college Shelby felt like well enough when she saw Demon King for the first time. Like, it was, to me, that's where my two loves met.
Yeah.
Like theater and wrestling.
Yeah.
And that's when I realized that wrestling is theater. Right. So for me, I'm very protective over the Demon King.
Sure. Yeah.
And when they just, in my opinion, bastardized it and just played it out to be a party trick, I'm like, no, you don't deserve it.
Yeah.
You don't deserve for him to do this. So no, you're going to wait like 4 years and wait and like really pine over it and want it more and more and more. And then
Right.
we'll bring it back out
There you
because
go.
it is important because he created this lore, which is why I put him on my list of greats.
Yeah.
Like he created this lore around the Demon King as this mythological creature that he has to tap into to be able to beat this person.
Yeah, and it's it's so rarely done. I should say it's so rarely done correctly.
And so rarely done correctly here because if you he did it in Japan obviously, but he created it even back when he was in Ireland.
Right.
Like
right.
there's even some like rare footage of him like doing like Marvel cosplay.
Oh yeah,
essentially.
he did the Joker
Because he
and
was doing it
did-
himself. He didn't have anybody doing it for him. So
Right.
it was just like very, very crude, not as well as it is now. But like, I mean, that is Japanese culture.
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
So it is
Absolutely.
very influenced by that because you look at the pageantry of New Japan and how they just see wrestling differently than we do over here.
they absolutely do.
They're quiet when they watch.
Yeah, they're attentive.
And they
And
clap all together like they're watching
when
a
they
show.
when they see something they like, it's a golf clap. And there's a barricade. You could step over it. It's so small.
It's not needed.
It's not needed because why would somebody step over that barricade and ruin this show?
It's like which is something that I get very annoyed with some of the spaces the theater spaces that we have here in Charlotte, in the Charlotte area, where there is no like, there's a stage, but like it's very accessible by the audience.
Sure.
So like for the Duke, for example, right? Duke Energy, you had the audience and then the stage went, pretty much right up to where the front row was.
Yeah.
I would get so pissed when people would just make a wide arc and just walk straight through the set. And I'm like, there's a barrier here. Like
Yeah.
you don't cross it. And I feel like that's how Japanese people view wrestling.
Oh,
They're
100%.
like, this is the stage. This is where the art
No.
happens.
Yeah.
We don't break the fourth wall here.
And even when back in the 80s, when you would go over there, they were still the same way. They were very attentive, they're very polite, and they would clap when they saw something they liked. But if a heel crossed that barricade, they ran because it was a heel and he's clearly insane. Let's get out of here. And they assholed and elbowed away. As I need to show you some Terry Funk stuff.
Okay.
With him swinging a chain at people.
Oh my
And
gosh.
they're just getting it.
Oh my God. Well, I have seen some videos of Mick Foley over there.
100%.
That's very similar to that. And people look legitimately terrified.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I think being in New Japan for so long, he took all of that and then brought it over here. And I feel like that paved the way for a lot of other stuff, like bold choices that we see now. Because like you have Bray Wyatt, which is a lot more accepted now.
Right?
Yeah. Like people were
again, one that was done correctly.
Exactly. So I really feel like even though he is still a current member and still current like active member of the roster, and his career is definitely not over yet, even though he's like pushing 40. But you know, I think that male wrestlers now retire a lot older and a lot later in life than they used to. But I still think he's in really good shape still. Like he can still go for like a lot longer unless something
I think
drastic
he's got
happens.
a lot left in the tank.
Which
and
makes me excited to see what else, because everything that he's done, I've been like, okay, like I'm really attached to this Finn over here, but okay, I'll watch this one over here, and then I end up loving it. So I think he's that type of performer and wrestler that can just make anything work and just make it, his own.
Let me ask you this. If he retired this week, is he a Hall of Fame candidate?
Yeah.
You think so?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah.
I would be extremely sad if that happened, but I definitely think so.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right on.
Just because of everything we just talked about.
Yeah.
Like paving the way for a lot of things.
I agree. I think
Yeah.
it's later down. I don't think he's this class, but
Definitely not. That would be it would be years down the road for sure, but I definitely think he's a Hall of Fame contender for sure.
I mean, I really don't want to wait until we do the in memoriam class.
Oh,
but.
no, absolutely not. But yeah, I'm glad that we were able to do this one, because I was really hoping that he would make the final cut, because I think he's important to everything that's going on right now.
He absolutely is. And speaking of in important modern day greats coming up for March.
Yeah, so we have already spun the wheel, because producer Kara is replaced by producer David today, and he does not have the wheel, so we spun it already.
Right.
So next month we are going to be talking about Bray Wyatt.
Oh, yes.
And again, another person that I think has paved the way for a lot of things.
Oh, absolutely.
And I'm very excited because I know about him now. I don't really know much about his previous career. So I'd be very interested. I'm excited to talk about him.
Well, yeah, we've got a lot to talk about. Now, David Hensley.
Two Dogs. I've been here the whole time.
He has been here the whole time.
Guess the wrestler. No. You got anything for us, man?
Well, at some point, but in the next, what day is it? The 16th. So sometime in the next 12 days, I have to figure out a time for me and Chris and Stan to record a Long Walk Talks, so that we get one in this month. But other than that, no. It's all February is just the month of wrestling for us. It turns out.
Yeah, because we have Elimination Chamber coming up. That's our next one.
There's also in early, or maybe it's mid-March, we got an AEW.
No, it's a beginning of March is Revolution. It's March 5th.
Is it March 5th? Oh,
yeah.
Wow.
And then we lead right into, we have Stand and Deliver for NXT first. And then we have 2 whole days of WrestleMania. So
yes,
this is the time of year when we just go crazy.
Yeah.
And these podcasts just go off the rails. So
as long as we never do, well, no, because we're doing 3 this month. As long as we don't do 3 in a week again.
Yeah.
Remember that time
flashback to, what was it, Memorial Day or Labor Day?
I think it was Labor Day.
Either one of those.
Yeah.
Yes, and we had literally, it was 4. Wasn't it 4 or 3 or 4?
It was like 4.
Yeah.
It was Monday through Thursday. Every night we were recording a wrestling podcast.
And didn't you even did a teeny talk that week or something?
No, I don't think so, because I knew what was coming. I knew what was happening.
Yeah, because I think we were in here, and I don't know if you've done a teeny talk since we've been.
We have
in here.
not.
Oh, that's
Katie
right.
and I keep threatening, but between the two of us, our schedules are so chaotic. We just don't have time. Like, we're barely at home together.
Understandable. Maybe one day. Maybe one day we'll get it back. But yeah, you both got to be in the same room to be able to do a teeny talk. So.
It helps.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah. Dogs, if people want to reach out to you online or follow you online, where is the best place for them to do that?
Well, you can get me on Instagram at David Two Dogs Hayes. You can get me on TikTok at This Is a Work. You can get me on Twitter. You can DM me on Twitter if you want to. I troll some wrestlers every now and again.
You're not on Twitter, really.
Not a ton.
Yeah.
I tweeted something to Goldberg
What did you tweet to Goldberg?
He said something about how he didn't like Rihanna's performance at.
So recently you DM'd Goldberg.
No, it was this
okay.
week.
Okay,
Yeah.
gotcha.
He said he didn't like Rihanna's performance. He said it was horrible, and I said that's kind of like your wrestling career. And I was saying so.
And somewhere, Katie Bearden.
Yeah,
Her ears just perked up.
Oh man.
So yeah.
Wow. Okay.
What I'll do is I'll pop in. I'll give you a 1-2 punch, and then I'm out like a thief in the night.
Fair.
And,
Okay. I guess if you're gonna do Twitter, that's the way to do it.
but yeah, you can DM me. I'll talk to you. Yeah.
I'm suddenly worried the studio was just surrounded by the sound of beer cans popping. Anybody else hear that? Shelby, if people want to reach out to you online or follow you online, where can they do that at?
Well, they can do that on Instagram at SlayAllRay. And if you want to follow This Is a Takeover, you can do that at @this_pod on Twitter or This Is a Takeover on Instagram.
All right. And if you want to follow me online, the best place to do that is on Instagram at @DBHensley. If you want to keep up with Long Walk Productions, you can visit us online at longwalk.us. To see more of our original work or hear past episodes that are no longer streaming, you can follow the YouTube links in the show notes. Thank you for listening, and if you enjoy this show or any of the shows on the Long Walk Podcast Network, please make sure to leave us a rating and a review on whatever platform you're listening on.
All right. Well, Shelby, I had a great time doing this one.
Doggz. I'm so glad that it turned out better than you expected.
Yeah. So look for us next month, and we'll be doing Bray Wyatt. So for David Hensley and Shelby Death Ray Patterson, this is David Doggz Hayes saying, guys, it's fun looking back at the past, but live in the present, man. And as far as the future goes, we're going to call it in the ring. Thank you for listening to This Is a Rewind.